Hope everyone's spending Memorial Day right, honoring those who have fallen in service of our country, going out, having a nice cookout with a family and friends, enjoying this lovely summer weather, and not starting your day out like I did, watching The Do-Over with Adam Sandler and David fucking Spade. Exaggerated anger there to kind of sell you on this review. This is number 2 in Adam Sandler's Netflix deal, and following something as gloriously inept and non-eventful as The Ridiculous Six, what does A Do-Over offer us? I'll be honest, it offers every once in a while a good character actor in a supporting role doing something resembling comedy in a performance or a line of dialogue. And I'll admit that this plot, when I was watching this movie, the whole time I was actually thinking, you know who could handle this material a little bit better? You know who could actually craft a pretty funny but still very heartfelt story out of this? You know who could honestly take this kind of buddy action comedy premise and roll with it pretty well? Shane Black won me over yet again with The Nice Guys a couple of weeks ago, and the entire time I was watching this movie I was just thinking, my God, if you put this in Shane Black's hands, this could be a pretty fun action comedy. I'll give the writers their kudos for this movie because I believe that they really haven't worked with Happy Madison Productions before. Like, this is their first time out writing for Sandler. I got the feeling that, yeah, this plot seems a little too complex and too character driven at times for it to work as an Adam Sandler movie. I'll admit, there are points in the plot where I could feel if this was handled by anybody else, the comedic and emotional punches that it delivers would land, would work. Unfortunately, I also happen to know that Sandler is notorious for rewriting a lot of his scripts at times to suit more of his comedic sensibilities and the comedic sensibilities of his compatriots that he wrangles into his productions, such as Mr. David Spade. What we're left with is a fairly interesting plot that's saddled by 2 leads I could give a shit about. Specific kudos here. The first 20 minutes or so of this movie is watchable. It's okay. David Spade plays this guy named Charlie who is attending his high school reunion with his wife, who was, I guess, prom queen and a big slut in school, and is hooking up with her ex-husband, and who was prom king, played by Sean Astin in a bad mullet. He runs into his old best friend Max, played by Adam Sandler, who says he's in the FBI, and they start to reminiscing a little bit. This first 20 minutes where they're just kind of shooting the shit, honestly having a laugh here or there, they're just being people, it's okay. This is the most tolerable David Spade role I've seen him in since, I guess, I want to say Black Sheep, probably. He's not really hamming it up as this character at the very beginning. He's playing this really destitute dude who's very unhappy with his life and kind of just meanders through it. He's not happy at his job working in a supermarket bank as the manager. He's not happy that his wife is neglectful and hooking up with her ex. He's not happy that his adopted twin boys are fucking terrors and your typical Adam Sandler annoying preteens. And he plays kind of this just sullen, depressed looking character pretty well. But then when he starts engaging with Sandler as just reconnecting as friends, that works. Like, that actually has a semblance, and I feel that is just kind of their natural chemistry together since they have been long-standing friends since the Saturday Night Live days. It's just them playing themselves, and that's fine, because I'm sure both these guys are perfectly fine to get along with in real life. So the first 20 minutes, it feels just like that. Like, they're just kind of having fun in front of the camera, just goofing around with each other, not really getting into their characters or the plot. Then when the plot kicks in that Adam Sandler essentially fakes their death so they can start a new life, and it starts to propel from there. You think it's going to go into something where they've assumed the identities of like some drug kingpins or some world-class criminals, because now all of a sudden there's this 8-9 foot tall German gymnast hitman who's out to like kill them with his hordes of assassins, and then they have to hunt down the widow of the guy that David Spade has assumed his identity, and it turns out to be Paula Patton. So of course David Spade's going to start crushing on Paula Patton. All the while Sandler's being stalked by his ex-girlfriend. You think it's his ex-girlfriend at the start of it, and she's like in a wig and glasses, and she like follows him everywhere. And they just go into this big, long, convoluted mystery that involves bikers and cancer treatments and torture with greased up dildos, a lot of very homophobic statements, and blah 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 blah. The entire time when that plot kicks in, I shut down immediately. I did not care. Every once in a while they try to wrangle me in with a guest appearance here or there. Like Luis Guzman shows up for a bit and he's doing his Luis Guzman thing, that's fine. But then it immediately kills it for me when it's like, okay, David Spade and Luis Guzman are having a three-way with this Puerto Rican neighbor. When they go to Puerto Rico and assume this guy's mansion, his neighbor, she like invites them out, and both he and Luis Guzman end up in a three-way with her, and it starts out kind of funny, like she's going down on David Spade and he's just looking like right across at Luis Guzman, who's like going to town, and Luis Guzman's performance is actually like, why you gotta look at me, man? Why don't stare at me. Look over there. And David Spade's like, okay, sorry. And he just eventually works his way back to staring at him, and Luis goes like, what did I just say? Like, that 10-second joke is kind of funny, but then they just keep going with it, to the point where now it's about Luis Guzman comes back from the bathroom, and his sweaty ball sack is hanging over David Spade's face. And then other stuff happens. Like they have good supporting players. I like Michael Chiklis shows up as this woman's husband, and he shows up at their pool, pissed off and ready to like beat the crap out of David Spade. But then he gets shot through the knee by the assassin, falls in the pool. And so basically Michael Chiklis' role in this whole movie, in the brief 1 or 2 scenes he's in, is him just yelling in pain. So, but he does it so fucking comedically that I don't know why. Maybe I was just starved for some comedy, but just watching Michael Chiklis flail in a pool screaming his head off was making me smirk. So there's that. I can't believe I'm gonna say this. This is the first time Nick Swartzen has ever made me laugh. And it's not because of anything he says or does, it's because his whole role in the middle part of this movie is to repeatedly get run over by cars as they come crashing out of garage doors. This happens to him, well, it happens to him twice, and then he gets veered off the road by Adam Sandler in his own car a third time. Just because I love to see that fucking Nick Swartzen take huge pratfalls and get hurt made me laugh. But then, of course, very much like the Luis Guzman thing, it overstays its welcome, and they drop him off at the hospital, and he's got like a bone sticking out of his elbow and stuff, and he's just like hobbling around like brr, brr, when it's actually about his actual performance. When it goes into that territory, and it's supposed to be him depicting being in pain, man, you kill comedy right away with that. And like, don't ask Nick Swartzen to act like he's in agony. Just show him getting hit by a car over and over, and I'll laugh at that. Okay, that was kind of mean. That's the thing, I'm acting like this is, I guess this is just a bum way to start off my morning, especially Memorial Day. Like I said, this plot could work. There could be some well done character building moments and comedic payoff at the same time if it was anyone else except Adam Sandler and David Spade. And I gave them their kudos. They start out fine in the beginning, But then when the actual plot that this movie is supposed to be following kicks in, it doesn't engage at any point. Like, there's a point where Adam Sandler's character, throughout the entire movie, you always get the sense that he's got another agenda on his mind other than just like, oh, let's start over with our lives and assume these new identities. There's always something at play with him, and you're not quite sure what it is, and then there's finally this big moment that reveals what's going on with him. And when that moment arrives, I mean, they play that beat dead serious. It is melodramatic as hell, and it's supposed to really tug at your heartstrings. If it were any other character except the character he's playing here, which is every character he's played since Happy Gilmore, with the exception of, let's say, the Waterboy and Little Nicky, because those are just goddamn cartoons. If it were any other character besides this staple Sandler character that has been just his bread and butter since the late 90s, I would have cared. I would have given a shit. If this was, say, Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling from The Nice Guys, not necessarily their characters, but just those actors doing something with this plot and these specific roles, like Russell Crowe is the Adam Sandler character and Ryan Gosling is the David Spade character. If they had played this same beat with those actors actually doing something with these roles other than just playing themselves, this would have had some kind of emotional payoff. This would have been a big, like, oh shit, this became really heart-wrenching. I would have cared, because throughout this whole movie, it's just Sandler doing his shtick, and he doesn't deviate from it even when the revelation comes. I mean, yeah, sure, some dialogue makes sense here and there why he chose certain wording, but at the same time, it doesn't factor into this character. This revelation of what he's going through and why he's going through it, it totally doesn't factor into the fact that he has been this annoying kind of slacker douche who really like takes serious advantage of his friendship with this guy, with David Spade, and is just this crass, vulgar, unassuming guy. Like I said, the same character he's been playing since Happy Gilmore. It doesn't work. Whatever kind of investment they were pulling for in this movie doesn't work. And it's not the same thing as like the Ridiculous Six, where it just feels like he's on autopilot here. Like, because his character in Ridiculous Six is just dull, that I couldn't get mad at that. But here, where he's being extremely unlikable and being just as like he's doing that shtick in this movie and just abusing the shit out of David Spade, and then all of a sudden I'm supposed to feel bad for this cat when plot is unveiled. Halfway through, I did check to see how much time was left on this movie, and there was about 55 minutes left, and I did kind of bang my head against my chair going like, fuck, another hour. But as soon as that revelation comes in, at least everything fell into place really fast for me, and I was able to call the other revelations as they happened pretty quickly, and it didn't seem like such a chore and bore to get through the last third of the movie. Like, I figured out as soon as that revelation came about Adam Sandler, I figured out instantly what was up with Paula Patton. I figured out instantly what was up with this ex-girlfriend that's following Sandler around. It wasn't like this grand, it wasn't one of those grand like mystery unveiled things. I'm like, oh, I get it now. I was just like, oh, okay, so now this is gonna happen and this is gonna happen. Cool, let's just get to it and get this over with. Like I said, there's a couple of nuggets here and there that did work. That first 20 minutes, I was able to invest a little bit in because nothing had happened yet, and it just seemed like two really good friends getting along, which I could engage in. They weren't full on what they were going to become in this movie later. And you kind of had a modicum of sympathy for David Spade and his shit life in the beginning of this movie. And again, some of the supporting players are kind of fun. I mentioned Michael Chiklis. Luis Guzman had a good 10-second joke that was run into the ground, but at least it was 10 seconds where I was kind of like, okay, good on you, Luis. Michael Chiklis, good on you. Sean Astin and Natasha Leggero as David Spade's wife and her ex-husband, you could tell they were trying at least. I like Natasha Leggero's, some of her stand-up stuff. She was horribly underutilized here in this film. It was just kind of there to be a ditzy Jersey accent wife. That's about it. And Sean Astin's playing your typical Jacksonville, Florida, Miami Dolphins fan. Apparently, that's a stereotype. Apparently, I at least could appreciate that they were trying. I could appreciate that Matt Walsh was in this for a little bit, and he was trying, even though his performance and his character didn't do anything for me. I could appreciate that he was trying because I'm a Matt Walsh fan. This one's going on my worst of 2016 so far. I know it seemed like I got a little adamant and vehemently angry about it, but honestly, it's one of those movies that I'm gonna forget I saw it. Do I recommend the do-over? No. I haven't recommended an Adam Sandler movie yet. I can recommend Anger Management, but mainly, like I said, mainly just because Jack Nicholson is pretty good in that. And it's not about Sandler at all, it's about Jack. I can appreciate the nostalgia factor for Little Nicky, because at least Adam Sandler is not playing himself there. He's playing a stupid baby kid-ish. He's got his stupid baby voice going on with that, but at least that's a character. And I can appreciate that because at least it made my dad laugh. If it makes my dad laugh and I can have a good time watching with my dad, then that's fine. I'll give him that. I'll give him Little Nicky and Anger Management. But Do-Over, it's more the same from Sandler. It's not a stretch. It's not a risk. And it's boring and unlikable because of it. Happy Memorial Day, everybody.